So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a tutorial for a super awesome eucalyptus wreath made from live eucalyptus branches. So I've had my wreath up for a week and it's only dropped probably 3 leaves, if that, and they hold up super well. They smell pretty great for about a week. Smell starts to damper off, but you can always add some eucalyptus essential oil to add that smell back to your room. I hope you enjoy the video. For this project, you're gonna need a floral form of any shape of your choice, floral wire to secure the eucalyptus branches, floral tape to tighten the smaller details, and a sharp pair of shears. I'm using X-acto brand ones. They do actually sell those at the 99-cent store now. So I'm starting by trimming down my silver dollar eucalyptus into smaller, more manageable branches so that they can be spread out throughout the wreath later. So I decided to categorize my eucalyptus into 3 different categories, which the longest, medium, and smallest. That way it's easier to start with the bigger pieces and then you work towards the smaller pieces as you're building the wreath. So here I'm moving on to the next type of eucalyptus. This kind has the seed pods attached, which I think adds a really nice natural element to the wreath, and it helps to hide the frame very well, and it adds so much visual interest. So I highly recommend getting eucalyptus with the seed pods if you can. So I'm using the floral wire to attach the largest part of the branch onto the frame. So I'm doing this by looping the wire underneath the frame and coming through where the twig meets the branch, if that makes sense. Then I'm tightening that like a twist tie and looping it through. I wish I could have got a closer angle, but I'm a one-man show and all I have is a ring light / tripod to work with. So now I'm grabbing my floral tape, and the way floral tape works is you cut a piece, and when you stretch it, that's when the adhesive is activated. So the tape is not sticky to the touch right off the roll. You actually have to pull it to release. That's what I'm doing right there, pulling it to release the adhesive, and then you tightly wrap and pull as you go so that it actually sticks. Because if you're not pulling, it will not stick and your wreath will fall apart when you pick it up. So as I'm working my way down the branch, I am adding more floral tape to secure the longer, spindly, very floppy pieces so that they are able to follow the frame rather than just flop in the direction that they want to. Periodically, you're going to want to pick up your wreath and hold it up straight so that you can see which branches are conforming with the form and which ones are not. That way you can go back and tighten up the details with more floral tape. So I'm coming in with a 3rd type of eucalyptus here, and I'm attaching this about 1 inch above the last junction for the first branch of eucalyptus that we added. This way your wreath will all flow in one direction and you won't have humongous gaps between the branches where you can see the form. So this next branch had a few leaves that had been chewed on by bugs and had a few spots, so I decided to remove them so that they did not affect the aesthetics of the wreath. So for this third branch, I'm lifting up the existing leaves from the last branches and forcing the stem of the branch I'm inserting underneath. So you're going to repeat the action of pushing the stem of the new branch underneath the leaves of the existing branches until you reach the other side of the wreath. By the magic of editing, I'm now almost done with my wreath. By this point, I have been working for about an hour, and I am just adding in small pieces to cover the frame of the floral form. So any parts of the wreath that were looking extra full, I ended up trimming so that I could use those trimmings to cover bare spots throughout the wreath. So we've now come to the point where we're adding the finishing touches. So I'm just taking the silver dollar eucalyptus and curving it with the frame following the form. Now that I've added all the silver dollar, I'm going back with a piece of yarn to attach those onto the frame. I'm just using a white piece of acrylic yarn. Then I just tie a knot on the back side to secure the yarn to make sure the eucalyptus doesn't fall off. I ended up adding some lace ribbon from the dollar store to cover the yarn. I thought the color was a bit more warm tone to match my space. The yarn was more of a bright white, which doesn't really go with anything in my home. So I'm attaching that with hot glue. Basically the whole rest of the wreath is going to be completed with hot glue. At this point I decided to add a lace bow to cover like where the lace was crisscrossing in the front. I attached that with hot glue, and later on I'm actually going to glue up the corners of the bow so that it stays open instead of just flopping straight down. Now I'm adding the small sprigs of the silver dollar eucalyptus, and I'm kind of sliding the stems underneath the lace so that they are tucked away and we have no loose ends. My dog Goose decided to come over to see what I was doing. I think he liked the smell of the hot glue. I decided to add some of the leftover seed pods around the bow, just to add a little pop of texture and just tie the whole wreath together. You could call it quits here, which is what I thought about doing, but I decided to take all the fallen leaves, add a little dab of hot glue on the back, and use that to cover any tiny peeps of frame or bare stems that were showing through, just to make the wreath look a bit fuller. This was the point where I came up with the idea to glue the corners of the bows up, because I realized when I picked up the wreath that the bow fell flat and drooped towards the ground. So I'm just basically pinning it up with little dabs of hot glue, and that worked amazing to keep the bow open. After an hour and a half, the wreath is finally complete. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my first tutorial, and I hope everything went well.